Welcome to Football Field Notes. I'm Michael, and this is where I share my love of football through the stories, numbers, and details behind the game. Training camp produces a lot of noise. One throw, one bad practice, or one signing can become a verdict. That is not our purpose today. Instead, we are looking at 7 questions that could genuinely change the 2026 season. They involve quarterbacks, protection, defensive competence, new coordinators, and whether famous names can become a coherent team. Camp will not answer every question, but it can show us which teams have built a repeatable process and which are still depending on hope. Let's get into it. At number 7, Carolina's question is familiar, but the context has changed. Bryce Young has already shown that he can finish games. Now he has to show that he can control them from the beginning. That evaluation did not start with last season's division title. 2 years ago, Young was benched after week 2. He worked back into the lineup and gave Carolina a reason to keep investing. Carolina went 8-9, won the NFC South and returned to the playoffs for the first time since 2017. Young set career highs with 3,011 yards, 23 touchdowns and a 63.6 completion percentage. His 448 yards against Atlanta set a team record. He also led 6 game-winning drives and completed 75% of his fourth down passes, meaningful signs of a quarterback becoming calmer in urgent situations. But the improvement was not evenly distributed. Before halftime, Young threw 8 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, with a 76.4 passer rating. After halftime, that became 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a rating of 97.1. The comebacks were real, so were slow starts. Now the protection question is harder. Carolina opens camp without either starting tackle, and neither is expected back before week 1. Rasheed Walker will start on the left, while first-round rookie Monroe Freeling moves to the right. In camp, watch the ordinary snaps. Does the ball come out on time? Does Young find the check down? Does the offense look connected with Tedairoa McMillan and Jalen Coker before urgency? Carolina has Young under contract through 2027, so this is not an artificial one-season ultimatum. The late-game growth is real, but the next step is not another comeback. It is an offense that stops needing one. At number 6, Buffalo wants a more dependable version of its existing identity. The Bills won 12 games and Josh Allen can solve broken plays. But needing him as the emergency plan makes the offense more fragile against elite playoff defenses. That is why DJ Moore matters. He does not need to rescue the passing game. He needs to make its routine answers better. Moore brings more than 8,000 career yards and 4 seasons above 1,100. He plays outside or in the slot and knows Brady's language from Carolina. That versatility should clarify the receiver room. Khalil Shakir can attack underneath, Keon Coleman can work in defined situations, and Moore can threaten outside without announcing where the ball is going. If it works, Allen gets a first answer before he has to create a second one. But this cannot become a reputation-based evaluation. Moore is coming off career lows of 50 catches and 682 yards. Spring also showed the normal growing pains of a new partnership, while Brady moves from coordinator to head coach. The question is whether Allen can trust Moore's depth and timing when a third down window is small and the defense knows the pass is coming. Watch third down, red zone, and 2-minute periods. Look for boring completions. The ball arriving out of Moore's break, Allen throwing early, and the target staying balanced. Buffalo is already a contender. Moore does not have to become the entire offense for this move to succeed. If the connection becomes repeatable, the passing game asks less of Allen's improvisation. That makes Buffalo not just explosive, but more playoff-proof. At number 5, Cincinnati's defensive standard can be realistic. The Bengals went 6-11. They scored 24.4 points per game, but allowed 28.9, 30th in the league. Joe Burrow played only 8 games because of a toe injury. He still posted a rating above 100, with 17 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. If Burrow is healthy, Cincinnati does not need an elite defense. It needs one that stops making a good offense chase games. The personnel response has been significant. Dexter Lawrence can absorb attention inside and still affect the quarterback. Jonathan Allen adds experience, Boye Mafe brings edge pressure, and Brian Cook adds range behind them. Together, interior disruption shortens the quarterback's clock. That helps coverage. Better coverage gives the rush time to arrive. The goal is not 4 recognizable names. It is a chain in which every level makes the next one's job simpler. There are still 2 layers of uncertainty. First, veteran talent does not guarantee communication. A new front must pass off run fits in games without creating another weakness. Second, Burrow's availability cannot be a footnote. He has experienced several significant injuries, and the argument that an average defense is enough only works if he is actually leading the offense. Cincinnati's rebound case is strong but not simple. In camp, start with first down. Can the front control the run without an extra defender? Can Lawrence and Allen create pressure without a blitz? Does the secondary communicate through motion? Also watch the rotation. Cincinnati needs enough depth to keep this front effective in January, not just the first padded practice. The path back is credible. If Burrow is available and the defense reaches the league's middle, Cincinnati becomes dangerous quickly. That brings us to the midpoint. Camp is most useful when it shows whether a team can make its best football repeatable. Earlier control in Carolina, easier answers in Buffalo, and basic defensive competence in Cincinnati. The next 4 teams have an even higher ceiling, and less room for a weak answer. At number 4, New England adds A.J. Brown to an already excellent offense. The Patriots finished 14-3, reached the Super Bowl, averaged 28.8 points per game, and led the league in expected points added per play. Brown is therefore not being asked to rescue Drake May. He is being asked to change the way defenses are allowed to play him. Brown produced another 1,000-yard season in Philadelphia. Against man coverage, he averaged 2.9 yards per route, a level New England's current receivers did not approach. That gives May a boundary answer against press or middle-of-field coverage. It should help Romeo Doubs and the supporting cast. Coverage must declare the extra attention, creating cleaner information before the snap. The risk is that every difficult moment starts running through Brown. New England's efficiency came from finding open receivers and keeping May ahead of pressure. He was still sacked 47 times. If protection slips, contested targets to Brown will not solve the problem. The best version of this trade expands the menu. It does not reduce the offense to 1 star and 1 matchup. Watch Brown against press coverage on third down. Where does May throw when the safety leans toward him? Can New England move Brown without announcing its intention? The connection should create opportunities for everyone else before a huge target count for Brown. This is a clean fit. Brown improves New England's answer against playoff man coverage, but only if the offense keeps last season's spacing, protection, and distribution. At number 3, the most important word in Kansas City is back. Patrick Mahomes is targeting week 1 after left knee surgery. But being available, functioning like himself, and carrying the same burden are 3 different things. That matters after a 6-11 season in which Mahomes threw for 3,587 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions, with an 89.6 rating. For Mahomes, those numbers describe an offense that stopped making enough plays easy. The early signs are encouraging. Mahomes participated in parts of the offseason program, and the Week 1 goal remains. Camp can show whether his workload grows from 7-on-7 to team periods without a setback, and whether he resets, escapes, and throws comfortably after movement. But Camp cannot recreate a defender closing at full speed, or the moment Mahomes decides whether to protect the knee or trust it. One practice is not a verdict. The most important help may come from the rest of the offense. Kansas City added Kenneth Walker after its backs ranked near the bottom in yards per carry and explosive run rate. Eric Bieniemy is also back as coordinator. If the run game creates lighter boxes and early down answers, Mahomes will not have to prove his recovery by escaping one impossible situation after another. That is a healthier test for both the quarterback and the offense. Watch Mahomes' team period volume, his movement after the first read, and his response the next day. Watch Justin Fields too, because the backup plan matters. Then watch play action, first down efficiency, and whether Walker creates yards before the third down problem begins. Week 1 remains plausible, but Mahomes' back must mean more than being active. Kansas City needs his creativity without requiring it on every important snap. At number 2, the Rams have assembled the kind of roster that makes restraint difficult. Matthew Stafford is the reigning MVP after 4,707 yards and 46 touchdowns. Puka Nacua led the league with 129 catches. Now 23-sack Myles Garrett joins Jared Verse. That is extraordinary talent. It is also only the beginning of the evaluation. The more revealing additions may be in the secondary. Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson arrive with shared language. That should help a defense whose final loss to Seattle showed how expensive coverage mistakes become, even with pressure. McDuffie can play outside or inside, while Watson's familiarity reduces the communication cost. If Chris Schuler connects rush and coverage, Garrett will not need to win every snap to change the play. The counter-argument is not a lack of talent. It is concentration. Stafford is 38. Nacua has had injury concerns. Davante Adams has missed time in both of the last 2 seasons. The roster also traded significant draft capital. That can be rational. But the line, receiver depth and secondary communication must survive when a star is unavailable or limited. A super team is still a team. The connective tissue matters. In camp, watch McDuffie's alignment and whether the defense disguises coverage cleanly. Watch Garrett's effect on the pocket, not only sacks. Track Stafford, Nacua and Adams together. The Rams need not prove their stars are excellent. They need to absorb injuries and role changes without losing structure. My read is that this is the league's strongest roster on paper. Its test is turning maximum talent into sustainable cohesion. At number 1, the defending champions face a different kind of pressure. Seattle does not need to discover whether its formula can work. It needs to preserve the formula while the league spends an off-season studying it. Sam Darnold threw for 4,048 yards and 25 touchdowns in a 14-3 season. He then went turnover-free through the playoffs, including 3 scores in the NFC Championship game. But the defense, offensive line, and Kenneth Walker's postseason also created Darnold's environment. The first change is at coordinator. Brian Fleury becomes Seattle's 7th offensive coordinator in 7 years. This is not a complete language reset. Darnold says the West Coast system and terminology remain familiar, and Seattle returns all 5 starting offensive linemen. That should protect last season's timing and play-action structure. Still, can Fleury add his own answers without making the offense relearn what it already does well? The backfield is less settled. Walker left for Kansas City after becoming Super Bowl MVP. Zach Charbonnet is on the physically unable to perform list after knee surgery, and Seattle has set no timetable for his return. That puts real responsibility on first-round rookie Jadarian Price, with George Holani and Jonah Coleman. Price brings burst, but pass protection, receiving detail and short yardage trust decide whether a rookie can stay on the field when the game becomes complicated. Watch the first down run game and its play action. Can Price identify pressure? Does Fleury give Darnold clear answers before asking him to become a high-volume creator? Seattle's defense can keep the team in almost any game. The offensive challenge is avoiding dependence on Darnold. Seattle is a legitimate repeat candidate, but only if it preserves Darnold's environment while the coordinator and backfield change together. So those are the 7 questions I will be watching. The Rams have the most talent. Kansas City has the biggest health variable. Seattle has the hardest act to repeat. Carolina may have the most important long-term answer. None of this will be settled by one practice highlight. What matters is whether each team's best football starts to look repeatable. Which storyline do you think will shape the season most? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching Football Field Notes.